Welcome back. Here's the Chaos Report, and the reviews continue with another Age of Revelation time, and the one that I've been looking forward to the most. Yes, Laura Kinney, Sabretooth, is here. She has been one of my favourite characters since her inception in the early 2000s. NYX, X23, Wolverine. She's gone by many names through many creative teams, and she has landed recently with Erica Schultz, who's writing Laura Kinney Wolverine. And she's writing this mini-series too. Now, I'm going to go through it page by page. There will be spoilers, so read the book beforehand. If you don't spoil, like the video if you can, and definitely hit subscribe. You know it makes sense. Wolverine, if he was here, he'd tell you to do the same thing. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Erica Schultz. She's been writing the Laura Kinney Wolverine book, and it's been cancelled. And it's not just been cancelled because the mainline books are temporarily going away to have these counterparts in the Age of Revelation timeline fill its place for a while, but because it's just been bad. Let's be honest, it's been one of the worst runs that have had the word Wolverine on the front cover. I'm an honest opinion channel, and that's just my opinion. If you like the book, great. I don't. And it's okay for me to not like it, and it's okay for you to like it. It shouldn't diminish your enjoyment. So go easy, because you're going to buckle in, because this book ain't good, boys. It really, really isn't good. It's just another example of the wrong creative writer on a character they do not understand. Now, if you read Laura Kinney Wolverine, okay, and you know what I'm talking about, then I don't need to explain it much more. And we get the same thing here, right? This book is written literally for 10-year-olds. And in fact, I think that's insulting to 10-year-olds, really, because I think they're much more cerebrally developed, because the dialogue is just so written for the lowest common denominator. It's dumbed down so much. You're reading and thinking, what have I spent? What is it, $4 or $5 on this book? I don't know. I don't know what I did. Well, I do know. I wanted to review it. Anyway, let's talk about it. Healing factor, enhanced senses, deadly sharp claws. Laura Kinney, the mutant once known as X23, was bred to be the perfect killer, but she's left that life behind, forging her own path alongside her mutant comrades and family as a force for good in an unkind world. However, 10 years later, things have changed. Unfortunately, the quality of storytelling hasn't changed, but here we go. We are 10 years from now in Philadelphia, PA, in the Revelation territories, which are the main territories owned by Revelation. And Philadelphia is ground zero for the whole Age of Revelation storyline. It's where the gene bomb that exploded and killed millions and, converted the survivors into mutants was exploded. It is, like I say, ground zero. It's also the HQ, the central port where Revelation and all of his followers live. So we have this narration over what looks like people outside just enjoying a drink, I guess. We can see the bridge in the background, and we see some dilapidated houses. So there's been some rough times here. So it says this is what mutants wanted all along: the ability to be themselves and live their lives without fear. It took a lot to get us through, to get us here, though. Before the government tried to destroy Revelation's compound, they sent in supervillains and assassins to stop the inevitable. These thugs killed innocents, all because they were mutants. Now we see these two sneaking around, so they're obviously up to no good. And she continues, and no matter how many of these attackers I maimed, and I mentioned this in my previous, they've used the word maim specifically to say she hasn't killed them, which is good, because it shows she's still intrinsically good. They just kept coming for us. The humans wanted to exterminate us. Now we jump to a Philadelphian naval yard. Okay, we've got Gabby here, who is Wolverine's clone sister, and we've got Aki here, who is basically Wolverine's son. Okay, now again, you probably know all the details about him. If not, jump onto my other preview video and I explain a bit about him. So they are there to meet someone, and they're talking between the two of them as Laura Kinney continues. I realized that if I was to keep my promise to help and save mutants, if I really was a one mutant army, then I needed to make a big change. Why did I side with Revelation? Because he protects all mutants, even the ones who don't agree with him. Now, obviously, Gabby here and Aki, they don't agree with him because they've seen the bigger picture, and they're scavenging for parts for Sage. Okay, so obviously they're part of some kind of maybe resistance movement, or they're hiding from Revelation, or they're trying to live their lives, and they're out trying to find parts to get by. So she says, you think Sage could use some more parts from here? He says, dunno, Gabs. All these ships look like they've been picked clean. But it's been 10 years, right? So why are you going to, the Philadelphia Naval Yard in a town that you live 10 years later and expecting that hasn't been absolutely picked apart. Anyway, Aki, I don't even know why I came. You're not here for Laura. You're here for Alex. Don't punish him for Laura's decisions. Who's Alex? I don't know. We'll find out soon. Anyway, she goes, you know I hate it when you're right. Now, Gabby and Akiko were once my whole world. But the world has changed. And here we see an older Laura. She looks much more angrier than she usually is. And she's storming through her new costume, which is very Sabretooth-esque. It looks cool. It looks cool. And Gabby says, well, if it isn't Sabretooth. So there's some lost love between these two sisters. You can sense that immediately. And there's also, as you can see, someone hiding there behind her. Who is he or she? She says, that name doesn't mean Victor Creed anymore, Gabby. When Zane took his father's code name, he wore it with pride, and I use it to keep Zane's memory alive. Now, I don't know who Zane is. I may have missed something or not read something. I'm going to assume Zane is maybe one of Victor Creed's sons. I don't know. Could be. He says, you two were so wrong when you sided with Revelation. You said all this before. Yeah, and I'll keep saying it until you get it through your thick adamantium skull. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, break it up, ladies. Let's try and be civilized, okay? And this is the quality of the dialogue, right? Aki is there purely as a tool to be the sort of weak-willed man trying to keep everyone happy. Jester makes Lara and the other one. To be honest, I don't even know why he's here. I honestly don't know why he's here, because he absolutely serves no purpose whatsoever other than trying to forward the plot slightly. So anyway, he has some kind of power, I guess, with some pheromones, and he's trying to sort of help Gabby calm down, but it's not working because she's really pissed off. Anyway, Laura continues, Gabby's gotten angrier since Revelation created territories. She reminds me of how I used to be. Okay, and then we hear Mom, and this little kid comes running out. Okay, and it's Alex. Who's Alex? Well, apparently Laura Kinney has a son, and that's fine. It's been 10 years, right? She's bound to have formed a relationship, had a child. And this is where the dialogue gets even worse. It's all saccharine sweet. It's all so Disney-fied, like, hey, Mom, cool, yeah. Hey, you're welcome, kid. Knuckle on the head. It's just like, why? You've got this dark character. You know, you've got the whole Wolverine and Sabretooth legacy to play with here. And we've got all these little kooky little kids talking like baby talk. Come on. Anyway, Gabby continues. I was surprised when we got your message. Didn't think you'd let us see Alex now that you're part of Revelation's inner circle. All right, well, how long has she been part of, that inner circle? We're not learning anything from here. Did she join last week and they fell out last week? Has it been 10 years that she's been part of it? We don't know. Anyway, she continues. The truth is, Gabby, I called you here because I need a favor. What is it we mere plebs can do for a seraph of the great revelation? And we find out that basically she wants him to take her son to safety, hide him away, because she believes that there is danger coming. She believes that her son might get hurt or killed in the crossfire, and she believes that he's best with his real family. She says, Alex, you know Revelation has many enemies, and you don't have any powers. I don't want anyone putting a target on your back to get to me or Revelation. But you could protect me, Mum. I couldn't protect your father. And again, here's where they're trying to inject some kind of heart. But you've spoilt that goodwill already, because you've talked down to the reader from basically panel number 1. Anyway, Gabby says, we'll do anything for Alex, right? So she's saying, yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. Of course we'll do it. He's our flesh and blood. Now, this is where it just gets even worse. So they've agreed to help the son, right? Because they care about this child's welfare. And they decide that to start having an argument. It says, look, I'll happily turn my life upside down for Alex, but you've got a lot of nerve talking about family. The second you got hitched with Zane, you turned your back on us. He became your family, and we were just left in the dust. She goes, you leave Zane's name out of this. He sacrificed enough for all mutants. And she says, and see where that got him. It's about time I show you how really wrong you are. Yeah, you. And then they claw out and they decide to fight. They're fighting each other, right? And presumably to the death. And they're both comfortable with fighting in front of the child, right? That they both care so much about. Now, is Gabby going to murder Alex's mother in front of him and expect him to want to go with them? Or vice versa? How is Alex going to feel if Laura Kinney murders his aunt in front of his own eyes. It doesn't make sense. But someone will say, oh no, they were just going to cut each other up because they've got healing abilities, etc., etc. But it still makes no sense, right? These two should not be fighting in front of a child that they care about. They're going to emotionally scar him even more. It's just ridiculous. And why is it here? Because we need a fight scene. There is a checkbox for Marvel books at the moment, okay? And one of them is fight scene. Just fit it in somewhere so we got the characters fight, some action, because the story's so boring around it. Maybe that action is going to save the book. It doesn't. So they fight, and Aki does his sort of like white savior, or rather, what's it called? White knighting, trying to save everyone from, fighting. He doesn't like grab the kid and take him to safety. No, anyway. Laura Kinney's mid-air, like she's miles away. You need binoculars to see how high she jumps. She's coming down in for that sort of fatal stab. And he gets in the way like an idiot. All right. And of course, he gets kind of slashed. She kind of misses him, but doesn't miss him. I just don't get it. The fight scenes are boring. Anyway, she picks him up. The fight just ends. It's like these guys, these Wolverines, in their like almost berserker crazed modes, just suddenly stop. And go, okay, well, it's cool, And we find out that his healing factor is quite taxed because he's keeping Bagra Ghul. Now, that is a demon he's bonded with in another book called Wolverine, and it takes a lot of his power to keep that demon under control. And we get the flash of the demon. And now Laura's just sitting down. She's going, no, okay, I'm sorry, but see what you made me do, Gabby? This ain't on me, Sabretooth. Mom, please, I don't want to go. I don't want Uncle Aki hurt. Why can't we? It's just so horribly written. I see your father in your eyes, Alex. Come on. Anyway, she says, I'm trying to keep him safe, keep them all safe. And he's like, now you go with Gabby and Aki, you'll be safe with them. Right? After this fight that kind of started out of nowhere and ended out of nowhere, they're all back to being chums now. Well, not chums, but they're all back to being civil. And off they pop. And of course, like with most of the books at the moment in the tie-ins, the two that I've read, apart from Amazing X-Men, which is kind of like the main book, right? There's someone watching from afar, someone spying. It's Hellion, a.k.a. Julian Keller, Seraph of Revelation. So he's watching another Seraph do something maybe she shouldn't be doing, maybe betraying Revelation. Of course, he goes back to Revelation. Revelation calls her in. We get, the checkbox number 2, which is show Wolverine in the book. And there he is, the Angel of Death. He's playing a major part over in the other book at the moment. And he's pretty cool in that. His story's quite sad. And he grabs her. You can tell that he's not the Wolverine he used to be. You can see her flare up with anger. Anyway, Revelation doesn't mess around. He basically says, listen, why are you taking your siblings to the rest of your family? Why not here? This is the safest place. And she says, listen, we have enemies everywhere. They're after you. I don't want them getting caught in the crossfire. And he's like, okay, all right. Okay, I see what's going on. He should be safer here. But let me tell you something, if your friends or your family are taking him to Araco, is it getting tongue twisted here? There's so many different names. He says, if you're planning to and leaving my territories, yes, that's what's happening. He says, this is disconcerting. I thought I had given mutants everything they needed. They are sadly not the only ones. I've heard a group is heading to Araco. There we go. Pray your family is not among them. It has become even more inhospitable to Terran mutants. One would think it was run by humans with their level of aggression. Were you not aware of that? So basically, now, that's probably where they're taking him. He's saying, listen, that place isn't going to be safe because we're about to basically kick the living shit out of it, as well as the fact that the people inhabitants are hostile too. So this is proving a bit of a problem now, right? Because she sent her son off for safety, but she's actually sending him probably into the pits of doom. Anyway, it gets worse. It really does. Now we jump back to Gabby with Alex, and we see Aki here, trying to heal. There's a little jokey moment here and everything. And we meet Sage, who's building a device, right? Which is what they were sort of scouting for parts for. Now let's read this. I finally gotten the Blink hard drive fully integrated into my system. Now Blink's consciousness can power the teleportation gate. That's great news. When will it be ready? Pack your bags because tomorrow is the day. Just have to finish programming the destinations in. So this is how they're going to get to this other place, which is on another planet as far as I know. They're going to teleport there. Now they're all happy about that. But then we go back to We go back to Wolverine, or sorry, Sabretooth now, right? Sabretooth. And Hellion sort of presents himself as a total POS, actually. He's like basically spying on her again. And he says, you betray Revelation, everything you claim to stand for, by meeting with Scout and Fang. The Scout and Fang are Gabby and Aki. There's other names that they've gone by in the past. That's probably to show that time has passed, and they've moved on from those code names, those identities to who they are now. And he says, and Alex could have a life of purpose here. That is, if he actually is a mutant. So she gets instantly angry, pins him up against the wall. She goes, this is what I was worried about. Someone like Hellion could use Alex to get to me. Or Revelation. She goes, leave me and my family alone. You have no say in what I do with my life. And this jilted lover act is really old. He goes, you know why your son hasn't shown any powers, don't you? So we've learned he doesn't have powers. Well, we learned that earlier on, but we haven't learned why. His father was a Creed. Who knows how badly his genes are tainted? She goes, don't test me. You could have had... you could have had me, Laura. We could have had the most beautiful children to ever walk the territory. So obviously they've got some history together and it didn't work out. And he's jealous and angry, so he's striking out at her. Anyway, she pulls him in close because he says, two Revelation Seraphim bringing new life to his utopia. It could still happen. I can give you that. So he's saying, listen, just come back with me. She says, come here. She goes, there is something you can give me, Julian. What? My love, my heart is yours. She stabs him through the heart. Well, why? Like she's in Revelation's palace, for God's sake, right? She's in Revelation's bloody palace. And if she wants to go off and try and save Alex, wouldn't it be easier if she hasn't got the entire of Revelation's forces pursuing her? It makes no sense whatsoever. It's tick box number 3. Do something like, whoa, try and shock the reader right near the end. And it doesn't shock. It's boring. Honestly, why? This should be something that's been sowing through the issues. He's been gradually working against her and making her more angry and pushing her buttons and taking her to the point where, she's got nothing left to do but kill him and get out of there. It's just so disappointing. So disappointing. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I mean, let's be honest, I'm sorry, but look at the art. It does get progressively worse through the issue. Look how long her neck is and the proportions and everything else. The art just gets lazy. I think it's so far, much like some of the other tie-ins, just something you don't need. You don't need this book. You really don't. Because I tell you what, right? I don't think it's going to have any standing with the current book, the main book. All these tie-ins are going to do one thing, right? They're going to tell a story about how that character ended up with the rest of the X-Men to then take Revelation on at the end, where they all assemble together as the X-Men or whoever call themselves in this world, and they take him down. Again, it's a waste of money. All you get is a beautiful cover and a promise of an interesting premise badly executed. So there we have it. I told you to buckle in, right? I'm sick of these books that tie in, right? And they don't do anything. They don't do anything story-wise. They're the same creators put on the same books, making the same mistakes, pumping out the same slop that you are paying for. You are paying for this, and it's not on. It really isn't. So again, that's why this channel is Honest Channel. I want to point out what's going on because it needs to change. We need to stop buying these books. We need to stop buying them. And maybe Marvel at some point will go, hold on a minute, let's try something new. And that's what I hope Age of Revelation does. I hope it provides a way of when they reboot all the mainline books, we've got fresh, new creative teams on those books who care about the characters, right? They care about telling a story about the character and not getting some message across that's personal to them in the real world, and that they actually respect the character's legacy and they build on that legacy to create new legacy. Anyway, like I said, those are my thoughts. I'm sure you'll have some comments to make them in the comments section, and I will chat with you guys. Let me know what you think of the book. Until next time, like the video if you can, hit subscribe if you can, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.